Well, there's a decider, the final game of this India tour to Sri Lanka, which we thought wouldn't happen at one stage. We were worried about whether we'd get all the games in, including right up and until the penultimate T20I. But we will have a decider, and the toss has already taken place in Colombo on ESPN Cricket for Matchday, looking ahead to that third game. And as we do a comprehensive review of this series for both teams, Muralidaran and Aakash Chopra. The toss has already happened. Shikhar Dhawan's won it. He's going to have a bat first with those two or three batsmen that India are playing in this 11. And Akash, they've made the one change. Navdeep Saini, who's injured, we saw that was the end of the game last night. And they've replaced him with, well, we can't say the batting prowess of Sandeep Warrior, but nice to see another debutant in this Indian side.
Well, yes, a lot of debutants on this tour. I can't recall another tour where you would have seen so many debutants. But Sandeep Warrior can bowl well. We've seen him bowling well actually for Kerala for a long period of time, and then he got picked for the KKR as well. He's played a handful of IPL games. Was there as a net bowler, but net bowlers are actually now playing for India on almost every tour, and they tend to do well as well, Ronak. So I'm looking forward to see how Sandeep Warrier bowls because he's got the ability to swing the ball. But the right decision by Shikhar Dhawan. I think we all speculated that if India wins the toss, they would want to bat first with just the lack of depth in the batting department. And Sri Lanka has always preferred bowling first. So both captains got what they wanted. Now get to 150 and make a match of it.
Yeah, Sri Lanka would take this though. That's what Chanaka saying at the toss. Murli, he's happy. He would have bowled first anyway, and they'd be taking that win from last night in their stride. Are they favourites for this game today?
You're asking me?
Oh yes,
Okay.
for Sri Lanka. Are they favourites today? I'm
I
guessing they are.
would go on Sri Lanka as a favorite for this game because of less batting in Indian side because with five batsmen and with the genuine not all rounders, genuine bowlers, it's very hard in a T20 game to go with five batsmen, no all rounders and everything. So unfortunate thing, India doesn't have the option because they are hampered by the COVID, and this tournament has to go, and otherwise the sponsors and a lot of problems will come. So it's good that India agreed to play and helping Sri Lanka in that way.
Yeah, good on. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We were all wondering, does this make sense? India clearly fielding a team they would never field in ordinary times with just five specialist batters and Bhuvneshwar Kumar at six. We saw Navdeep Saini yesterday didn't even get a ball, even though he was injured late in the innings. But let's look at this game firstly in isolation. It's a game that needs to be won to win the series. And Akash, what do India take from last night in terms of just their batting? They still have a number of new batters. Do they bat differently today, looking at the fact that they nearly made 130 a competitive score yesterday?
So more of the same, but look at getting to 150. 150 has we've seen that if you scored anything in excess of 160, you defend it. 150 will give you a fair chance, but to get to 160, you need proper, perhaps a bit more depth in the batting department, and therefore, realistically, you can actually just target that 150 kind of score. Of course, every pitch behaves differently, so you will assess the conditions and then reassess what the ideal score is, par for the course. Don't really go higher than that. At least don't aim for higher than that, and just keep reminding yourself that in a T20 game, at times three batters are good enough. If three have a good day, you don't need people batting at 5, 6, 7. And while you're batting first, you have that luxury to just pace the innings accordingly as well. We saw Shikhar Dhawan scoring run a ball 40 in the previous game. Expect a bit more from Sanju Samson because even though he's played only 9 games, but then he is the senior most guy in this team after Shikhar Dhawan, and get something from Devdutt Patikal, Ruturaj Gaikwad, and Nitish Rana. If everybody can just realize their potential, considering some of them are playing only their second game, just get to 150 somehow, and then allow your bowlers to at least make a game of it.
From a conditions front, Murli, are we expecting more of the same from yesterday? Spinners to play a big part again?
Today, of course, there was no rain. It was a good sunny day,
Hmm.
and maybe I don't know there will be moisture or they are playing in the new wicket or same wicket. I don't know. So condition won't change much. I think always 160, 165 will be a winning total in Qatar this stadium. But you can't score 180, 190. That means definitely that side bats first will win. So I think mostly um, with the batting what the India has, if they got a good start and keep going, these five batsmen can score the runs, then they can achieve at least 150, 155. That will be a very, very good total to give a good fight because they got a good bowling attack.
All right. Now we're going to discuss a lot of takeaways from this series, as this is the last game of this limited overs tour, and also the last T20I that India played before the T20 World Cup in a couple of months' time. The action is thick and fast. You have the first team in England that's going to play the Test. You've then got the remainder of the IPL, and then the T20 World Cup. And we will take some of your questions too. If you're watching us on our YouTube and Facebook Live, just put in the hashtag Ask Match Day, and we'll try and take a few to Murli and Akash right through the day today. Before I do get there, though, let's just set things up. This is the last T20, like I said, Akash, for India. Who is this game very important for? We're looking at a Sanju Samson. We spoke about him yesterday. Is this a massive game for him to decide one way or the other what the selectors will think of him, or is it no? There's an IPL still. They will base their decisions after that.
See, there is an IPL still, and
There
that's
you
for
go.
sure. But the only caveat here is that in the IPL, he's the captain of his
That's right.
franchise. He'll be batting in the top three. He might actually be opening. He will score runs. He always does. But will that be enough to get us like a berth, a slot for the World Cup team? Perhaps not, because that number is taken. Anybody who's dreaming of getting into this Indian setup at 140 is actually dreaming, because that place is not up for grabs. So Sanju at 4 or 5, if he can actually make an impact and suddenly show us that he has the ability to adapt, of course, it's a huge
Will
game
be
for him.
on panel of
Shikhar Dhawan, just to make more, like just to make a stronger case for his inclusion in the World T20 as well, because he's also not a certainty. He's there. You can't rule him out because he's Mr. ICC, does always well. The experience counts and he's got the runs, but he's not there yet. Last T20I series that India played, he played only one game and then got benched for four. So this is what tells you what the selectors are thinking when everybody is available. So Shikhar Dhawan, in my opinion, it is the biggest game for him, and everybody else is absolutely fine. Kuldeep Yadav, I don't see him making the cut for the World T20. Others are just youngsters.
Yeah.
So Bhuvneshwar Kumar is already there. So I don't think that this game is going to really make or break for somebody. Maybe Varun Chakravarti. You want another look at him, another good bowling outing with the ball, and back it up with the IPL, and you just put your name there.
That's an interesting point you make on Shikhar Dhawan. And let's ask Murli as well, who've worked enough with Shikhar Dhawan. You've seen enough of him. You know all the other players that are going to compete for that spot for the Indian team, Murli. There's Virat Kohli, there's Rohit Sharma. They might open together. Good chance. KL Rahul is there as well. It's quite a congested spot to, try and break into. Shikhar Dhawan is experienced season. Has he done enough for you to at least be part of an Indian T20 World Cup squad, or would you rather give that spot to a Prithvi Shaw, to an Ishan Kishan, players with a little more X factor?
See, only thing is what you will go through this because of this COVID period. Normally in a World Cup they will have only can have 16 members. So I think because of these reasons, what's happening, I think the ICC will allow about 25 players because you never know. Suddenly you can't stop a World Cup. One people are
Hmm.
there, so it might be have 30 players will be going to in the squad. So definitely Checker will be one of them because if they're going to have that kind of a squad, because you have to separate. Sometimes even they will have precautions because you see now the first 15 will be doing training differently. Other 15 will be doing like that. Some other options they will have suddenly some got then you have a balance of good set of players to play the World Cup because you can't play a World Cup like this. What happened in Sri Lanka at the moment,
Hmm.
you could use the net bowlers and everything and play. That will be not good for a country to represent. They are the best players. So I think the rules will change. So more players opportunity will come. So squad will be 30. I think I will play in my mind. 30 players should be in the squad because otherwise this World Cup won't have the best of best players playing each other.
That's interesting you say that. Now I know if I put either of you on the spot and say, would he make a 25 or 30, it'll be hard to tell. But let's narrow it down for you, Akash. If it is about a reserve opener, and let's assume obviously Kohli, Rohit, KL Rahul will all make that squad. If it's about one position for a reserve opener, and you can either give it to Prithvi Shaw or give it to Shikhar Dhawan. At this point, do you have a answer for that, or will you have to wait for the IPL and then take that call?
You will have to wait for the IPL to take that call, because it's a tough one. Let's be honest. Shikhar Dhawan, for the longest time, didn't really set the T20 stage on fire. He would be there and thereabouts, but even when he was playing for Sunrise Hyderabad, he got the runs, but it would never be at a clip that would just excite you enough. And then when you look at Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, and now Virat Kohli just wanting to open, then you see those options as better options. At least you used to look at them at from that vantage point. That has changed somewhat. Last IPL, couple of centuries back to back. This IPL again, he stamped his authority and he's playing a very different brand of cricket. So I would say that Shikhar Dhawan is has to be in your thoughts all the time. Prithvi Shaw is exciting. See, Prithvi Shaw is someone who you won't really just play him just like that, because as we mentioned, that there are enough options available for the first possible 11. So Prithvi Shaw is one guy when you think, okay, let's disrupt and let's throw someone who would just change the complexion of the game, a completely wild card kind of entry. That is Prithvi Shaw. So wait and watch, because for someone like Prithvi, I think form will be critical. If Prithvi is still on song and is just continuing in the same fashion as he did in the last IPL, and Vijay Hazare before that, if 2021 happens to be his year, the first half has certainly been, then you might just start looking at him, because that kind of form is too tough to ignore, in my opinion.
All circumstances aside, if we talk about Sri Lanka, yes, India are fielding a depleted side, Murli, but we know what Sri Lanka came into this bilateral series and all sorts of problems off the field. Dasun Chanaka's first assignment as captain. If they are to win today, what does that do for Sri Lankan cricket for you?
See, Dasun Janaka as captain before in
Hmm.
Pakistan, so it's not the
Hmm.
first time.
All right.
So they won the series also there with his captaincy. That's why I think selectors believed him and thought he's the one who candidate that can take this team forward. That's what they are believed, and they will be keep on continue with him, because you can't keep on changing like what happened in last 5 years, about 10 captains, because it is not the right way to go. So you trust him and you give it the team, and now you can't say it's a young team. This team has been a few players have been young and few debutants. Other than that, most of the players are available for last 3 4 years. They were in and out, and they got some experience, and they've been playing a lot of T20 cricket. In this format, definitely uh, they can move forward because of the confidence that they have won one match in one day series, and then also they won last match, and they are, if they win today, that will boost their confidence to that they can, because they should not think about India is depleted, but still winning a match is for the country is a win. You can't say they played a very bad team and then they won it, because still I think there are capable players in India, and
Yeah.
the players who can make match winners are there, so they can win your match. Still, Sri Lanka has to play well their A game, and if they win the series, they can take a lot of things forward, because for India is nothing to lose, because India is nothing to gain on this match.
Yeah, it's a fair point. All the pressure, if at all, is on Sri Lanka. If they are to lose to this Indian team, you think, like Murli rightly points out, you're not going to go hard at this Indian team for losing. But Sri Lanka have a little bit of pressure on them. Let's take your questions now. It's time for hashtag Ask Matchday. If you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, please send them across. But we'll take some from Twitter as we put the tweet out a few hours before the game as well for Akash and for Murli. Let's take our first question for the evening. This is from Jiten Chandrana. In the T20 World Cup, how crucial will it be to have a bowler who the batsman cannot pick? And is Varun Chakravarti that bowler? Effectively, is what Jiten is asking. Let's get both of you to weigh in on that. Akash, you first.
Well, see, he's an exciting option once again, because you've got Ravindra Jadeja as a proper left-arm spinner. You've got Yuzi Chahal as a proper leg spinner. You've got Washington Sundar as an off spinner who can also bat. So that gives you enough depth, considering the conditions in the UAE. Especially after the IPL has already been played on similar surfaces. So you look at these three options. So what else is left? Once again, it's like a wild card entry, a very exciting prospect. Varun Chakravarti, I'm not saying that people can't pick him. If nobody could pick him, he would end up with 5 for in every game. But he is that exciting option where if you haven't played him in the past, there could be a tendency if the pitch is helping a little that he might just get the better of you. So, and T20 cricket, there's very little time for for a new batsman to figure a bowler out, and it's not like the IPL where one you play the same team twice, two you see a lot of them. It's not going to happen. And there are no league games per se. When you play a World Cup, every game is like a knockout game from that perspective. So if you have to bowl to a batsman only once, Varun Chakravarti could be that guy that would just bamboozle you with his variations, different sort of bowling, just to begin with. So I will keep him in my thoughts, but. Is he a certainty? No, not yet, because there is a Rahul Chahar as well, and there is also a temptation to actually get two leg spinners playing together because they're so different from each other and both are equally effective.
Yeah, Murli, we spoke so much about Varun Chakravarti before this T20I series. There seems to be a lot of hype on him. Now, you've seen him in two games and you've seen him enough in the IPL. Does he live up to the hype for you?
See, because he's a very good bowler and very good option for India and also for the IPL teams, whatever you play. I still think he's not like Mendiz's or Narayan's level when they came into the team and they mesmerize. He's not mesmerizing batsman, but he's decent enough and he's giving a good performance. For me, for India, I will wait and see this IPL how it goes in Dubai. They're playing in Dubai next one and see the performance of all the bowlers and who is in form. I would pick if it's somebody you are playing many foreign teams they don't pick properly. So I think my pick will be the Chinaman bowler, what's his name?
Kuldeep. Yeah, Kuldeep
Kuldeep
Yadav.
Yadav will be
Yeah.
my pick because he's been proven himself and wicket taking bowler he has done. So if unfortunately the IPL team is not picking him for the side,
Yes.
so that's
Yes.
why he got out of the way. If they pick him and if he bowl well in Dubai, I think he's the guy you have to go with Chahal in the 11.
It's interesting that KKR are preferring Varun Chakravarti to Kuldeep Yadav, so that tells you where they stand. But since we're on the Varun subject, Murli, what does he need to do on a skill front to make that next level for you? He's got some talent. Is it a question of pace? Is it a question of length, line? From what you've seen of him, he's got one wicket in both these T20s. What does he need to work on to take it to that level of really bamboozling batsman, like you said?
I think he lack of spin.
Hmm.
People will play him like once you know him, like a medium pace. Like if you don't have so Mendes when he started, he was spinning both ways, and he got tired after 2 3 years. Then the spin got a little less, and then what happened is then people started playing like a medium pace, and the effectors has gone straight away. So I think Varun doesn't spin the ball enough both sides. So it need little bit deviation. Then only the batsman will even if don't pick. Uh, uh, they can play as a line, and if doesn't spin, then they can handle the his variations. But if it starts spinning, they're going to miss the ball and they're going to go. That's why Sunil Narayan and Mendes was and Sunil Narayan also very good because of they spin the ball.
All right, fascinating observation from Uday Muralidaran. Let's take another question as well from Twitter. Hashtag Ask Match Day is running. So if you need any more questions, you're hearing something great from Murli as well as Akash. This is from Jayesh. Now, this is interesting. Do you think, if available to play, that Lasith Malinga should play in the T20 World Cup? Because Sri Lanka have many bowling options. We saw 8 in the last game, remember? Malinga, even if he bowls just 2 overs in a match at the death, could be very useful. Murli, what do you make of that? Lasith Malinga.
See, that's depend on Malinga, not on the selectors or anything. He has to get fit, and he has to really do his fitness. And because only 2 overs is bowling or 4 overs bowling is not matters. You have to be in the field. You have to either help others because you can bowl well for 24 for 2 wickets or something. You take 3 wickets. Sometimes you don't. Encourage other bowlers in his field. And if he misses there, yesterday you see India lost because of his fielding, not because of his bowling. So you
Hmm.
can lose the match on fielding. So that allowance you can't give it to any other person, because everyone takes that thing as a team, as it's a team game, and everyone has to feel well. Then only you can get into the side. So that is the problem with Malinga. He should get fit, and then if he can feel, definitely he will be very very useful. He's a master of bowling, and there is no doubt about his bowling. But I think he have to get other aspect of the game. Then only he can be in the team.
Hmm. Akash, anything on that? It's been over a year since we last saw Lasith Malinga play a competitive game, a T20 international against the West Indies. Who knows what the availability situation now would be with a second, IPL? But does that excite you, Malinga in another World Cup?
See, it will always excite you, but you also have to be pragmatic, because one thing that we have learned in T20 cricket, especially in T20 cricket, that reputations, they count for precious little. And there's at times excess baggage. You don't really want to just carry them for the sake of carrying. What Murli is saying is absolutely right. You got to be fit. You have to be match fit to actually come and bowl and win games, because it's not just about getting him on the park. It's his own reputation on the line as well, because we've all seen Malinga just excel. Very rarely have we seen him struggle. From a very fan point of view, of course, you want Malinga to play, you want Sachin to play today, but you also want them to do well whenever they play. You don't want them to struggle on the field, because that actually is a bit of a heartache if you see your legends are there out on the field, but not able to cut it. So that is something that I will say pragmatism should actually precede over everything else.
Hmm. All right, let's take our next question as we fast approach the first ball of this deciding T20 International. Again, if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep your questions coming. I'll pick them up even in the later show, if not now. Shreyas Iyer was in great form before injury and has more international experience than Surya, but Surya has seen this dream form playing beautifully. Who should be India's number four in the T20 World Cup? Right, Akash, again, is this another IPL decision or are you ready with an answer now for it?
Form over this kind of comparison, because see, if it was a comparison, say, between Surya Kumar Yadav and KL Rahul, I'm not even talking about Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli. Let's not go there. I'm just talking about KL Rahul right now. So I would still pick KL Rahul, because there is pedigree there. There's proven experience. There is a guy who's a runaway T20 match winner, white ball. He's sensational when he's on song. That's it. He scores a century, he wins you a game. But when you talk about Shreyas Iyer and Surya Kumar Yadav, oh wow, there is a very thin line. There's not a lot to choose between the two. If it were to be a one day game, I would have said okay, go with Iyer. Because let's not get carried away with the current form of a guy who's obviously just enjoying this dream run. You got to go by what you've seen already. So from Shreyas, we've seen enough of Shreyas in one day cricket to merit a place in the one day side. 50 over side at number four, no question, no matter how good Surya is batting at this point in time. But when you talk about T20 cricket, Shreyas Iyer is all right. His T20 international numbers are also not that great, because he's not played enough. You look at the IPL, once again, you won't say that Shreyas Iyer is just running away with it. He's like, there is no match. Surya is no match. When you look at them at every other platform, which is the shortest format, very difficult to choose between the two, and therefore form over anything else that might be there. So Surya, I'm tilting towards Surya, but then perhaps we won't have to pick anyone. We can pick everyone. If 25 people are going to be in a squad, then everybody goes, and there is one squad that's playing, one squad that's practicing, so that you have enough people available.
That question was more specific. It was asking about the 11. It didn't care about whether you're allowed 15, 20, 30, or 40. He wants to know whether Surya pips Shreyas in the 11. Anyway, I think we'll have a lot more conversation on this at the end of this game and even at halftime. Join us then. Game's already underway. Ruturaj Gaikwad is there. Who knows? You might find an unlikely hero for India today with these debutants and new players throwing their hat in the ring as well ahead of the T20 World Cup coming up. Thank you to Murali and Akash. Join them at our mid-inning show for ESPN Cricket for Match Day. So do join us then.